it's written and talked about that Israel is doing much worse science-wise than ever before. That from top percentile, we're now down in the bottom of advanced countries. Why is that? And if this program is now Science for All, has it diluted the level of science education all over?
Good question. You know, probably there was a book that was out. I remember in the 60s or something. I remember when I was going to school, we studied it. It was called "How to Lie with Statistics" by a guy named Hull. I remember the guy's name. You know, there's no lying that's going on here, but there's an interesting situation that takes place. Who is number one in these international tests? You know, Singapore. Right. Who's number two? Korea. Who's number three? No. All these Asian countries. When you go to these Asian countries, they are very homogeneous, and there aren't really big class differences, at least in the area, at least the people who take the tests, which is an issue of controversy. In Israel, what has happened over the years? We have had, like I said, from a very elitist, if we continue with that same elite approach to education that I mentioned earlier, we'd be up there. But what's happened is Science for All, we basically brought in the Haredim are in the sample. The Arab sector is in the sample, and the Arab sector is in itself has problems, and we can get into that discussing that. But those two groups of people bring the average down, and I think that the other aspect of it is that it could be that there is a dilution in general. If you take the top people, the top 10%, I think we can hold our own with the top 10% and the others. I think there is a problem, and there is a red light in terms of the citizenry. The citizens of Israel are not, as a group, as well educated as they should be when it comes to science. And I think that's clear. So I've been part of that debate, and I think it's a complicated issue, but I think part of it is the fact that we have a very wide variety of people who are taking it, and we've gone from this elitist approach to a much more open approach. Hopefully we'll be able to increase those scores. There's another problem with that, and that is the scores themselves, or the testing themselves, becomes almost, I think, a self-fulfilling prophecy. What happens when you have these high-stakes testing? I mean, you guys have seen it yourself. One of the slides that, if I'm able to get it, I'll show it to you, is by a guy named Robert Sternberg. And I was going to quote him on the issue of creativity. And he says that high-stakes testing is an anti-creativity device. Today, when there is a lot of pressure to do well on these tests, what do the teachers do?
Teach for the test.
Teach the test. So, you won't find a lot of project-based learning going on the scale that you found in Kalanskoye in the Jewish Center today. It was very popular 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when we started this, and it's still popular with the diehards. I mean, there are teachers there who will do it, come hell or high water, they're going to be doing their projects for their kids, and they're going to get the kids ready for the tests. But the average teacher, when they see this pressure coming down from them, they're going to say, I'm not going to get it done. And they do the testing, and then what happens is, I think a lot of it becomes much more boring. They're not really, doing stuff that's sort of engaging, and I think there's a downward cycle, not just on creativity, but in learning in general. I'm a big critic of these high-stakes tests. I think that they do more harm than good. And I don't think that they really give you a good indication of what's really going on. Because things are so complicated. It's like going into a grocery store, taking one little piece of everything there, a carrot, an orange, a grape, a this, a that, all putting it in a blender, mashing it all up and saying, it tastes good. No, it doesn't taste good. I mean, hello? There are so many different kinds of kids. There are so many different kinds of sectors. There's so many different things going on. I mean, why put them all together and come up with a score that we can say, oh yes, or oh no? It's a horse race. And horse racing is not, I don't think horse racing is good for education. That's my perspective. But having said that, the critics will say, well, you got to produce. If you want to have a society where you have people that are ready for the information age, you need to have it. So I guess this is a debate that goes back and forth. There's no really right or wrong. I have a position, other people have the other position. All I can say is, it seems that we're doing pretty well when it comes to technology.
Right.
I mean, take a look at what's going on around here. We're not hurting. We have high technology going on the kazoo. We've got stuff going on which is incredible. You know, the disk on key was invented largely here. The sun disk thing. There's tons and tons of stuff. The Mirabilis, you know, with ICQ. I don't have to tell you. I'm sure you've heard about this.
A lot of people say that's from the last generation.
You know, that might be true. And so maybe I have to be a little bit more humble about that. And there may be something to it. So I guess it's a question of concern, and we have to take it seriously. At the same time, I would argue, don't take it so seriously that you push out this stuff, what we call drill and kill.